Okay, let's use Chat GPT to do some obscure scriptural study, Book of Enoch stuff. This is not like, hey, I found all the answers. This is like, hey, here's one method to do this sort of stuff. And you, the watcher, can give me some insights of how you would done things differently. Now, I'm going to walk you through what I've done already. I was just like, oh, okay. What if I dropped in actual text from a Latin codex? How would it handle it? Oh, it does all right. Then I ask, where can I find text from the original manuscripts? And it talks a little bit about it. What I didn't want to do was I didn't want to go directly to translations without kind of doing a little bit of research to see like how good are these? How biased are these? What should I watch out for? So I wanted to kind of also get a sense for how big they were. Book one being, pretty big. It's like, okay, well, I'm not going to be able to drop these, directly into Chat GPT. I know a little bit about the Book of Enoch, and we could drop right into doing like having Chat GPT give us a recap of the different books and the different chapters and all that sort of stuff. But how good is the context? Can I drop in the context? And would the context of these books come from a translation? How well can I trust the translations? Can I put in the original language? What is the original language? These are some of the questions I started off with. So I was like, well, where can I find the original text? Because I was interested to see how well it could read the original text. I assume it's going to be pretty good at Latin and Greek and Hebrew and that and Aramaic maybe even. But what about the Egyptian? The Ethiopian sources. I don't know how good it's going to be. You're going to see that I ask it a question about that later. Now, it gave me some, and I was like, no, no, no. Give me a URL for each of them. I kind of went over there. Sacred text was pretty decent. Some of these are, like this one is kind of a dead link. So I was like, okay, let's be a little more specific. Enoch 1. And some of these were all right. I could have told it to give me a couple other, and maybe it would have worked. And then I thought I'd test its knowledge. Do you know the text of the first chapter of the book? And it knows I'm talking about 1 Enoch. Because I actually did I had another chat up where I asked it specifically to create a table. I wonder if it's in here of the different versions. It doesn't look like it's in this particular chat. You know what? I should probably make this a little bit bigger. Just a second. Let's pump this up. Ooh, that's really big for me. I'm used to seeing things a lot smaller. All right. So it's and this is part of it because sometimes it hallucinates, right? It writes what it thinks would be best. So how well documented is this? How much text has been fed into the language models that are running GPT 3.5? And yes, I have access to 4, but I want to save those um, prompts for really complicated things because you have a limited amount of GPT-4 prompts you can use. So I'm using 3.5, and even 3.5 pumped out this, and of which I went over just a second. All right, I had to pull this over. This is one of the ones that they actually helped me, GPT helped me find, is this sacred texts, and I found Book of Enoch. It actually gave me a URL specifically to that, so I took the first two verses, of which this is what it did. The first two verses, up here, 1 through 2, as you can see, and I just popped it in here, and I said, "Now compare to this version. Are they the same? What differences they had?" And then it kind of gave me an understanding that the sacred text version used brackets and stuff to indicate what was missing in some versions of the manuscript. So it mentioned 3 different areas where the brackets were used, as you can see here. Brackets here, brackets here, bracket here. All right, yeah. So otherwise, it seems like it's a pretty spot on example, just that the sacred text version has it kind of understands that there's differences in the manuscript. Oh, and this is where I said, well, how many versions of this book and which one's the most accepted? And talked about Ethiopian, Slavonic, Aramaic. And then I got interested in knowing about the Dead Sea Scrolls version of it. And I said, well, I kind of want to know how much, because I've seen images of the Dead Sea Scrolls and they're just tiny fragments with just words. And I was wondering, is there pages or are there words? And I kind of was digging deep into it like, no, no, no. How many words are there? How big are these fragments? And found out there's kind of 4 fragments. And now, is it hallucinating this? This is what you always got to pay attention to, especially in GPT 3.5. We don't know how much was fed into the model. One would guess that they probably fed the Dead Sea Scrolls. That seems very likely in some of these older ancient texts because there are no copyright worries for them. And they do seem to be decently important. So, because of no copyright worries and stuff, it would make sense that they would dump them into the language learning model of GPTs 3 and 4 and all that stuff. So, I've kind of looked. One of the things that they gave me was, hold on, I'll show you. All right, well, here's one of them. Is this one of them? Let me go back a page. Yeah, 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 giants. Something about giants. This is let's see, hit the about. This is the book Ethiopic version of the Book of Enoch. Blah blah blah. This comes from the Dead Sea Scrolls.org. You can this is how I kind of understood what the fragments were kind of like. And now there is another place where it kind of indicates um hmm, oh, right here. 1Q24, 1Q, that sort of thing. So if we go over to here, um, this would be interesting to pull in this. I don't know if it's going to be this or this right here. Oh, sorry. Here we go. Is there a search area? That's going to be interesting. Um, is there a search area? What is this? Digital library, search area, search area. Whew, okay. Featured scrolls. Enoch. Oh, that's fun. 4Q. 4Q Enoch. 4Q Enoch. So I'm feeling there's an internal server error, but I'm feeling pretty good about this. And this seems to be a little bit longer. That seems to be pretty. That's more than a tiny fragment. I'm not sure why we're not getting it. Let's see if we still get a internal error. That's too bad. That's too bad. But we're getting a little more understanding that the GPT model is probably doing an okay job. Anyways, I didn't I didn't know how that there was this much kind of found. So I asked it, I wanted to learn a little more about the first, the source, the original sources and stuff like that. So I asked a little bit more, who discovered. I've actually read a little bit more about this in the past, so it's not like I had to learn everything. I just wanted to get GPT's take on it a little bit. There's version of James Bruce, and I know that the one that they gave me talks about Richard Charles. So I ask, well, there was Lawrence, and there's another version from Lawrence that I saw somewhere else. So I asked a little bit about Richard Lawrence, and it talks a little bit about him and how he um, translated some, and some people's criticisms of his translation interpretation of it, and um, anyways, so just kind of fun things. I guess you could pause at any point to see where I got to. This isn't like super well drawn out study, and I guess I could have had ChatGPT give me a very good study curriculum for the Book of Enoch. That could be something kind of interesting. I was like, well, I wanted to give GPT a test of Gia's language, but none of these really worked to get the original source. So I just said, well, let's skip it and let's just uh, post in the entire first section, chapter. I don't know what they really call it, and get a idea of what Enoch, is talking about here. Saw a vision of the Holy One in the heavens, which is shown by him by the angels. This is kind of a paraphrasing, which is kind of funny because I said rewrite it, not paraphrase it, but it paraphrased it. Um, and this is maybe something that GPT-4 could have done an even better job at, but this is always good to test it in GPT-3. Could save my GPT-4 prompts for when I really know it's going to be useful. This kind of gave me, when I said, no, 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 rewrite each version modern English, it kind of did a line by line thing. So it gave the original, and then it gave the English version, which may be worth reading. I'm not sure. But this is an interesting approach to take, but I kind of want to take a moment. I'm going to pause this, and I'm going to write out a prompt, maybe to um, have GPT give me a kind of a course of action. We'll see. Just a second. Done. It took like a couple minutes. It's not perfect, but we're just rolling with it because we're just going, you know, I understand the limitations of my thing, but it said, okay, plan of action. Research the history of the Book of Enoch to better understand the context. Research its history, background, authorship, original purpose. The information can be found in scholarly articles, books on the subject, reputable website sources such as academic journals. So, I mean, the fun thing about this is I can tell it to do number one, I suppose. And then what are they saying next? Find and read the original sources. Look for the original sources, the Book of Enoch, such as Ethiopic manuscripts or fragments of the Dead Sea Scrolls. Be careful. Be sure. This is maybe somewhere that the whole concept of GPT connected to the internet, or like AutoGPT or Baby AGI, which are kind of automated ones that have access to the internet. This is where maybe they could come into play, but they take a decent amount of work to get them started and rolling, and I haven't had good experience with at least AutoGPT, but it's been a week or two, and I know that these things are progressing rapidly. Within weeks, those things may be way more powerful, and so I'm not sure I want to do it today. Maybe I can wait a week or two or more to see those systems to be a little bit more advanced, or wait for auto or Chat GPT to have internet access and that sort of thing. Um, okay, consider authenticity, reliability. Yes, we're gonna try to consider those, and that sort of stuff. Okay, Use GPT to translate and interpret the original text. Yes, that's one thing we had in mind. But it's like, oh, by the way, it may not provide accurate translation, so double check. Summarize, convey. I was like, well, okay, my audience is going to be a little bit more LDS. So I asked it about that aspect. It's not really that helpful of a section to me. It's just like re. It's just like just taking this and like saying it a different way of what I said. Not that not that helpful. Yeah, social media, blah blah blah. I guess that's essentially what I'm doing here is creating a YouTube video for this. All right. All right, please do number item number 1 and be thorough and think step by step. I People always say to use this think step by step approach. Anyways, it's an easy, quick prompt I can just do while you're. Holy Hannah, you keep on going. Why is it talking about this stuff? I just wanted it to do step 1. I guess I should just like no, this is dumb. Okay, boom. We're gonna take this. Please do the following. Boom. I took what you're saying. I didn't do it all, huh? Hmm. Do one step at a time, and then wait for me to say continue. Whatever. All right, well, they broke it down to a lot of steps. So we could do our research about the Book of Enoch. Um, and I feel like this is going to be pretty good. From what I know, it's got a pretty good understanding of the Book of Enoch. It can quote it accurately. And and yeah, this is going to be interesting. Apocalyptic visions, teachings of the Enoch, the great grandfather of Noah. Um, I don't know how much of this you want me to read. Follow the Watchers, fathered in the Nephilim. Um, Narrates the travels of Enoch to heaven. Oh, look at this. I wanted to make sure that the information I was getting accurate, so I looked for additional resources to verify the information. I found a helpful overview of the Book of Enoch on the website British Library, which provided more detail. Continue. This part of the steps. I guess I should have asked it more about the British Library thing. Look for scholarly article. So you could give it a like, how would you approach doing a thing? And it would be like, oh, well, here's all these things you got to do to be really good at this. Good luck to you. And then you turn around and say, haha, good luck to you. Because now you're going to be doing each one of these things. It's like, I mean, oh, dang it, you got me. Okay, I will do them for you. Because it never says, well, it doesn't never say no, but usually says, it's just like, okay, I'll do it. I'll do it. But I like this approach, kind of just, you know, hey, do each one of them. I know you're not going to be able to spit out the whole entire thing in one huge prompt because that's not how Chat GPT works. It's like little sections by sections it's best at. Um, one book that stood out to me was the Book of Enoch, a complete guide and reference. Um, Now, let's make sure it's not what you would call hallucinating. It is How's Books. That's a reputable place, I know. That is a real book. It's got a good, just more and more that I do these double checking makes me feel a little bit more comfortable with its approach on the Book of Enoch. And I think how you could possibly, this is what you kind of need to do if you're doing a different theme. Just kind of make sure how well it's been trained with Enoch type things. I could have them give me a book summary, uh, a reader's guide to this book. It sounds like because it sounds like it knows a bit about it, or it's been told about this book several times. Um, this is interesting. I'm guessing this is also going to be a pretty accurate book, and this book I could say continue, or I could do a branch and say, um, give me an outline, a summary, a recap, 20 interesting points. Um, or I can just continue. This is like a choose your own adventure. I may just continue. What's step 3 going to be? Consider the authorship of the Book of Enoch. The authorship of the Book of Enoch is a matter of debate. Some attribute it to Enoch, the great grandfather Noah, while others believe it was written by someone else entirely. Sure, we'll go down this line. I'm still a little bit more interested in what these books have already written because this is my first time I'm hearing about these books and how this one stood out to ChatGPT. Okay. Comprehensive overview, historical context, authorship, original purpose. I like it. Explores historical and literary context. Examines the influence on early Christian theology. That's interesting. I know that there were, from my understanding, there were early church fathers, is the term that we usually use, that mention Enoch, but we don't find the Book of Enoch till like the 1800s. Our day doesn't really find it. Seems like it goes out of style in some way or another. All right. Let's see. High resolution images translated the Book of Enoch fragments found for the Dead Sea Scrolls. We looked at those. That was fun. I also visited websites, Smithsonian Magazine, which was published. Now, it's not actually doing these things, just so you know. It's not doing these. It's acting as a research person. It's like playing a role and writing like this summary. Today, I did this thing, and I did this thing. It's like writing a journal. It's like I went and scavenged the whole of the Smithsonian magazine archives and did this thing. It's not actually doing these things. It's kind of writing, like as if I were the researcher. Because that's kind of what I told it to do above. So I could have been more specific. I didn't want to actually do these things in a 30 to 60-minute YouTube video. It's just kind of giving you examples and then it could tell you all the things that you could go out and do, and I also gave it the specification that we need to use internet sources. Anyways, I kind of want to go back to this one. This one was um kind of fun for me. I want to take this and I want to book report. I don't know what it considers a book report on yeah, simple prompt. Simple prompt that's going to lead to how long? And this is another great thing about 3.5 is that this is took like a fraction of the time that GPT-4 would have taken, though GPT-4 would have given a better book report, is my guess. Um, okay, this doesn't assure us, by the way, that this is an accurate book report, or if it's hallucinating, meaning creating what it thinks would be a good book report about the book called The Book of Enoch, Complete Guide to Reference by Joseph Lumpkin, or has it been trained on this data? And this is something that you would want to do, to go and look to see how well it's trained on it. But regardless of that, it has been trained on the Book of Enoch. So whatever it's writing is going to be a good report on the concept of Enoch and the Book of Enoch. It's going to be decent text. It's going to educate us. But whether or not it's been thoroughly trained on this book, we don't know. We'd have to look into it, maybe give it a test and say, you know, what are the first two paragraphs of this book? I don't know. There's probably other tests that we can do. Look, it's doing this. We can take this when it gets trained by the internet. This isn't a good sign, but then again, that book may not be on the internet either. But what I'm still saying is that let's see. We put this in there. We found the book. It's on Amazon. Will Amazon? Oh, it has a Kindle version for 274. How exciting! And do we get print length 254? Can we see the first couple of pages? Um, audiobook. Whoa, we can read that. Listen to the audiobook. I actually think I may do that if it's got some good. Yeah, I think I would do this. I'm actually considering getting this bad boy, but I'll do that later. I'll do that later. What I want to see is if it's going to give us anything from the inside of the book. Nope, it's not. Not that I can see. Interesting. All right, I'm going to keep this open. And then might as well let this guy tell me a little bit more about the book and stuff like that. And just kind of go off of Chat GPT's recommendation of this book. I don't know. I don't have another recommendation that trumps this one. Really, I mean, this is kind of all I really got. But here's the book report regardless. Um, a book report of either this book or what it imagines this book is. We still don't know this for a fact. We don't have anything to really judge it. I mean, what would really judge it is someone that's read this book and can go, yeah, that's a great book report for this book. Or we could find something, book report, or is there anything on this? Hmm. Goodreads, blah, blah, blah. No, not really. It can't, I mean, Googling stuff is such a waste of time usually. For me, it's just such a sinkhole of like useless, you know, just chases, like you're going down. Oh, no, that didn't lead to anything. That didn't lead to anything. That didn't lead to anything. And you find something eventually, usually, or not. That's why it's just kind of fun to have this. But I want to give you context that if you really are, don't quote this sort of thing, don't like, fully accept this unless you know how well you can kind of gather how well it's actually been trained on this book. Has it actually, does it know the text of this book? But I think the book report's going to be helpful. Um, okay, so it's going to have structure, content, themes, five major sections, which are from what I understand, are the sections of the Book of Enoch, which is Watchers, Parables, Luminaries, Dreams, Epistle. I think that's the sections. That's another question. What are the main sections of the book of one Enoch? I know that's kind of what they call it. Watchers, Parables, Luminaries, Dreams, and Epistle. So another way of doing it is open a totally different chat thread. A totally different chat thread. They do not speak to each other, they don't know each other, and ask it. Or you can double check, what are the main sections of the book of Enoch? I should have said one Enoch. A book of Enoch. This is gonna be. I should have said one Enoch. That's too bad. Synopsis. Book of the Watchers, Parables, um, Dreams, Epistles. It's well versed in Enoch, is what I'm gathering. Not I don't know if it's perfectly, but it's pretty well versed. Um, you know what? It's a little bit of fluff from GPT on. It was a very short prompt. It's not giving me any meat really. It's kind of giving me what the book. I already kind of know that I want to read the book. Anyways, I kind of want to go back to where I did um the line by line approach. I thought that was pretty cool. Just I want to read Enoch in a way that's a little bit easier than the original, or I want to read it side by side with GPT and go like, help me here, help me. So, um, I mean, we could do it in a few different ways just to get an approach. I'm going to take this all over again and say I could start a new chat too, because the whole concept of how it would research Enoch, I thought that was pretty interesting too. Um, okay, this is another interesting approach. Rewrite this section from one Enoch as a children's book, children's story. Do not leave out interesting details. Let's make it easier to understand with captivating um, and visual storytelling in the style of J.K. Rowling. This is silly. This is silly. I don't know. This is fun. Will it help me understand the Book of Enoch better? We'll see. Once upon a time, there was a man named Enoch who was righteous and blessed by God. He had a special vision of the Holy One in heavens. It's kind of more children's book than J.K. Rowling's, just saying. Um, I could just leave out the children's book sort of thing. He had a special vision of the Holy One in heavens, which was shown to him by the angels. They revealed to him many things about the future, but not for the present time, rather for a time far away. Enoch saw the Holy Great One would come from his dwelling, and the eternal God would come to earth, even on Mount Sinai. The great God would appear to him in his might and strength from the heavens above. I mean, are they talking about visiting Moses? Are they talking about Christ coming during his time on earth? Are they talking about some future time? Or is this a concept of repeating this? Like this is a repeating theme. Anyways, when this happened, all shall be filled with fear, and the watchers, the fallen angels, will tremble. The mountains and hills will shake and melt like wax before a flame, and the earth will be torn apart. Everything upon it will perish, and there will be judgment upon all men. Interesting. That seems more like latter day things, millennial things, later second coming-ish sort of things. Who knows? But the righteous ones will be protected and blessed by God. They will belong to Him and will prosper. Mercy. You can read the rest of it. It's all right. It's all right. I what approach do you take? There's so many random random approaches. I want something somewhat systematic. I want you break down the first 5 verses. All right. All right. Breaking it down. First 5 verses. This is another approach. This verse introduces the words of Enoch, who is about to bless the elect and righteous people. It mentions that these people will be living in a time of tribulation when the wicked and godless will be removed. Okay, I mean I could break this down even more. Let's see. We've got the text. Righteous man, Enoch takes up his parable, which is a type of figurative language story concerning the elect. Enoch describes the Holy Great One, which will come. Enoch states that when the Holy One appears, and you break down the rest of the verses. All right, sure, I'm going to do that. Oh, it's doing it side by side this time. That's interesting. I liked this breakdown. It was longer. Oh, well, no, this is longer. Cataclysmic events describes the destruction that will come upon the earth when the Holy Great One appears, offers hope to those who are righteous. It's interesting. Um, uh, let's take this verse 7. Does it talk more about these concepts in later chapters of 1 Enoch? I'm going to give it context, specifically Okay, so later chapters of one Enoch further describe the judgment and destruction that will come upon the earth. For example, in chapter 51, and I do think that it really does, it has been trained in one Enoch. I think it's been trained probably by multiple sources. That's probably what's good about this, is that it's been fed multiple books containing one Enoch, or versions of Enoch. So I think GPT is pretty well trained at Enoch. My guess, what I'm kind of seeing. Um, so we're going to be interested in chapter 51, 53, 58. Um, Interesting. In times and the judgment to come. What can we learn? Here's another approach. What can we learn from verse 8? See, it's getting a little bit longer. One thing you want to know is, if you're doing ChatGPT 4, you don't want to just do simple little prompts like that, because you're so limited in the number of prompts. You want to like pack a ton into the prompt. And I'm just like, let's just go quick. Just research, get an idea of different things. We're not an expert. We're not providing the best research ever on Enoch. We're kind of dabbling in many different approaches. So this is going to be interesting. All right. Book of Enoch states that God will make peace with the righteous and protect them, and that mercy will be upon them. It also says that the righteous will belong to God, be prosperous and blessed. The first highlights the importance of righteousness, faith in God, and the assurance that those who will follow him be taken care of and protected. It also suggests that the concept of prosperity and blessing is tied to faithfulness to God rather than material wealth or success. I mean, that seems like a great concept. I know that in the LDS religion, we're told about the Apocrypha that there's a lot of apocryphal writings. There's a lot of good things in them, but um, they may not be our primary sources. Like, you gotta, what would you approach them with a grain of salt? Is one of the sayings. Like, just like, I wonder, have the spirit with you to kind of take the good things out of them, recognizing that other people have had their hand. This probably wasn't written. Well, we know that many of these versions were not written by Enoch himself, and they were passed down. And some of those passer downers, we don't know about those guys. And so we kind of, we'll think about it. Let's use our use the spirit to interpret some of this stuff. All right, but I'm not doing that right now. I'm just kind of taking in information. All right. So, um, can you give me the text of one Enoch, chapter 2? And then we're just always kind of verifying. I want to just make sure that we're getting good stuff. So we're going to go back here. Oh, it is short. Whoa, that is quite short. Um, oh, yeah, 3 verses? Is that really all it is? That is correct. I'm going to copy this. Um, uh, it didn't just give me the text, it gave me a recap. Is a short chapter that reminds the reader to observe and appreciate the order and consistency of the natural world, both in heavens and on earth, It encourages the reader to pay attention to the cycles of seasons, the movements of the celestial bodies, and regularity of the weather patterns. Huh, why? The chapter emphasizes that. Any other insights as to why Enoch would encourage the reader to consider those things? Anything from um, rest of one Enoch that supports the ideas in this chapter? Let's see what it says. The idea that the universe is ordered with God presiding over all things, including fate and the righteous, fate of the righteous and the wicked, emphasizes the importance of living a righteous life, with the ultimate reward being entry into the kingdom of heaven. Cool. Sets a stage for the rest of the book. Chapter 2 sets a stage for the rest of the book by establishing the importance of wisdom and understanding. It stresses the idea that true wisdom can only be obtained through close relationship with God, and that pursuit of knowledge is a lifelong journey. Ethical behavior, warn against succumbing to the temptations of the wicked. Later chapters of the book expand on the ideas and provide more detailed instruction for leading a righteous life. 37 through 71, that's a lot of chapters, describe in great detail the different judgments that will befall the wicked and the righteous. 91 encourages readers to avoid wickedness and embrace righteousness. Throughout the book, there is a consistent emphasis on the importance of living a moral and just life and the consequences of failing to do so. Hmm. Well, okay. Um, let's take this. Let's move it down here and let's type in chapter 3. While it's typing this out, I'm going to hit next chapter 3. Oh, that is incredibly short. Uh, R.H. Charles translation. That seems different. This isn't, this seems to be R.H. Okay, let's go back. Seems like, um, let's see. Different from the standard retaining the foliage 2-3 years except for 14. We could find another version of this. Mm-hmm. From R.H. Charles. Let's see. R.H. Charles 1 Enoch 3. Search the internet. See what we get. Summa Scriptura? Chapter 3. This seems to be shorter. Why are these chapters? They're like the length of a. I'm gonna question this one. Is this the most common version of chapter 3? It's like, yep, it is. Um, uh, why do I see this as being the R.H. Charles version? Um, 10 verse 5? It hallucinated. So now we know to be a little bit more careful, but you can always just um, feed it with information. You know what I'm saying? I'm actually liking this new version because I can grab a little bit more. I can see how long they are. Um, uh, okay, so I'm going to take all of this, and by the way, I'm going to rename this to Enoch Studies. That's cool. Okay, can you give a recap of these chapters of 1 Enoch? It's got a lot of sources and all that stuff. That is very short recap. That is lame. I don't like that. I want to edit this one. Can you break down different chapters from above and important verses? All right, describes 14 trees do not lose their foliage like other trees. What is Enoch talking about in chapter 3? Holy cow, I don't understand that. He was taken up in a high mountain by the angel Uriel, who showed him various phenomena of nature. Enoch observes how every tree appears to wither and every leaf to fall off in the winter, except for 14 trees that are not deciduous. These trees wait for the old foliage to appear for 2 or 3 winters until the new leaf comes. Obscure, right? Enoch is shown this is a metaphor for the righteous who will preserve through times of tribulation and not be shaken by them. The 14 trees that remain evergreen symbolize the few righteous who will endure to the end time. Are there any insights into why 14? May have symbolic significance representing completeness or perfection, but this is speculative. Others suggest that his inclusion of this detail may simply been intended to illustrate wisdom and knowledge possessed by the watchers. Ultimately, the exact reason is subject to interpretation. I like it. GPT's like, I ain't gonna make stuff up for you in this case. Okay, chapter 4 describes the beginning of summer when the sun is hot. Notes that all things are subservient to God and everything is brought to pass. Observes how he sees rivers complete their respective operations. Oh, how seas rivers complete. Okay. What are supposed to be our main takeaways for chapter 4? What should we keep in mind as we continue to read the rest of 1 Enoch. Keep in mind from this chapter, I like those questions. Those are decent, short, decent, nothing too. The main takeaway from this chapter is the contrast between natural order of the seasons and the discomfort caused by extreme weather conditions. This chapter serves as a reminder that humans are subject to the forces of nature and that even most powerful rulers on earth cannot control the weather. As you continue to read 1 Enoch, this chapter serves as a reminder of the importance of recognizing the power and the majesty of the natural world and our place in it. Okay, well, sure. I guess that's all just fine and dandy, isn't it? Let's keep going. It doesn't seem like I'm going to miss anything in chapter 5 or 4. It's a short chapter. Again, they consider the days of summer and the sun is upon them in the very beginning, while you seek for a covered and shady spot on account of the burning sun, while the earth is scorched up with fervid heat, and you become incapable of walking either upon the ground. It doesn't seem like it really gathered quite a bit about this and kind of explained it in some really broke down ways. Like it really, verse 4 to 6, huh? Is there a 4 to 6? Is there a first 4 to 6? Nope. I gave it context. I gave it context. Interesting. It's maybe getting its Enoch from somewhere else. All right. It is. I need to just give it context. This is how you should understand. I'm working with something that I feel pretty confident with. This version by R.H. Charles. I guess I should look at other versions of the Book of Enoch. Oh, you know what? We weren't using this one. We were using this one, but still pretty short. Oh, what's this? 5-1 versus 4-1? Black is Charles, red is Lawrence. Lawrence, this this is interesting. So it's definitely different. All right. Well, I'm just gonna grab this. Okay, and then I will feed it again, just to make sure we're on the same page. Break down the verses I share below. There we go. Natural world stuff. This is a very big recap. Break down. Oh, you know what? We can. Each verse I share below. Changing one word. Let's see how it works. Yep, there we go. People in this verse observe how the tree produced fruit and how God was it has made all things work together. They understand that God is responsible for everything in the world and that all things serve him. The works of God are seen as invariable, yet everything happens as God has appointed it. Let's read. They consider how the trees, and when they put forth the green leaves, become covered and produce fruit, understanding everything and knowing that he who lives forever does all these things for you. This is more obscure, for sure. that the works at the beginning of every existing year, that all his works are subservient to him and bearable, and yet as God has appointed, so are all things brought to pass. I mean, I get it. I love what it's written, but the works of God are seen as variable, yet everything happens as God has appointed it. That's just quicker. That's quicker, and I feel like it's fully accurate. Can we get more context out of it? Yes. Could GPT get more context out of it? Sure. We could do it again. Um, and I do this the same for like New Testament, Old Testament sort of stuff, right? You break it down more and more if you want. All right. Let's keep going. The seas and river complete their respective operation. All the natures work together for a greater purpose. The people are criticized for not enduring patiently or fulfilling the commandments of the Lord. They are accused of transgressing and calumniating with God's greatness. Their words are described as malignant and polluted. As a result, they are told that they will wither in their hearts and have no peace. In these days, the sinners will resign their peace with the eternal maledictions, I love that word, of the righteous. They will be execrated by both sinners and the ungodly, and they will be accursed for their unholy actions. The elect are promised that they will possess light, joy, and peace, and they will inherit the earth. To what extent is this really worth their time? With 1 hour listening at 3 speed, that 250-page book that I could get on Audible and listen to on 3 speed, am I going to get a little bit more out of it? Because someone else has spent dozens, if not hundreds of hours reading through and trying to grasp everything about Enoch, and I could get their at least introduction. I don't know how long that Enoch book is going to be in Audible, but I listen to things at 3 speed. I'm just gonna go take a look. I'm gonna download it. All right. It doesn't say here, but I'm looking on my Audible app. We're looking at 6 hours, 52 minutes. So we're looking at 2.5 hours. I've got some credits available. I'm going to download. I've just spent an hour looking into this with, I don't know, even if you're just listening to at like just over 2x, it's only 2 hours just to listen to the whole entire book by this dude. It may not be perfect, but GPT says it's pretty good. It's got some decent ratings on Audible, and but I still like that I have this in hand. And if I wanted to read the whole entire thing, how fun would this be to read a breakdown of each verse for the entire book? Is that something that I could do? Is have it create a breakdown of every verse with an inline next to it? A prompt that would look something like this. Systematic approach. This is kind of what it all leads down to. I'm going to give it a roll. You are an Enoch scholar, has studied every translation of the Book of Enoch. You are doing a project that will help readers understand the Book of Enoch. You are rewriting the Book of Enoch chapter by chapter and verse by verse. You will be using the approved version of one Enoch that I will be feeding to you. After completing the task for each chapter, I feed you of text. I feed you. I'm ready for the next section of one Enoch. I want it to tell me like I'm ready because sometimes it's like still writing. Anyways, and then I say continue, and it's like, well, here. So this is just a good prompt to know when it's actually done and ready for the next assignment. Here is a format that you will write each chapter. Chapter number, short preview, any context from the previous chapters that will help understand, which is kind of fun because I do something after it's done. You will then give a breakdown of each chapter and every verse that was shared, and immediately underneath the italics, share the original exactly as presented to you. After all verses have been broken down, you will do a short recap of the full chapter, then indicate what parts of the chapter will be important to remember as we read the rest of 1 Enoch. See, that's kind of. And then I want some interesting insights. This section may be partly, who knows what this is going to bring. It's kind of fun. Before if you do any insert excerpts for 1 Enoch, do you understand? I'm going to copy this because it took me some time, and I don't want this to fail on me. Yes, I understand. I'm ready for the first section. Thank you. Let's try doing 4 sections at once because I ain't about to do this 108 times. I like to do multiple at once. There we go. Oh, I should have told it to do it in Markdown. Why is it? Oh, because we're in GPT-4, it's going so slow. It did it in italics, so it is doing it in Markdown. I would prefer a different sort of easier to read Markdown. I wanted this to be first. Okay, we just wasted one of our 20. We're gonna go all the way back here. Easy to read Markdown with verse numbers in bold. Okay, what else can we do to spice up the to 5. The breakdown share the original text presented to you and do it in italics. And quoted. Okay, so this is going to be number 6. After all verses have been broken down, you will do a short recap the full chapter. This is 7. This is 8. Do not use numbers for the formatting of this markdown text. Instead, use nicely formatted markdown as if you were reading a resource book. That makes every section easy to find. And the pattern is repeatable for every chapter. Okay, let's see if it works. Okay, it's saying it again. We're just burning through our GPT-4 stuff. Let's copy it. I really hope I can do multiple in a row. Let's be honest, I'm not gonna use all my GPT. See, this is getting better. I love that it kind of came up with this on its own, I feel like. Oh, and I love this quoted. This is so much better of formatting. Just with a few little things, my little bit of knowledge about Ooh, why did it do 2 and 3 together? That's interesting. I kind of like that it's doing that, to be honest. Will it continue that? Why is it some of them are not? Okay, preview. In this chapter, Enoch shares his vision, blessing for the elect. The book of Enoch opens with Enoch's vision of the blessings for the righteous and the judgment of the wicked. Enoch, a righteous man. I like I like this, but I feel like, you know what? I'm not going to mess with it. I kind of would prefer this not to be bold. I do like it quoted though, so I'm glad that it is quoted, but I don't feel like it needs to be bold. But I'm not going to mess with it because this is fine. It's fine that it is this way. Um, uh, I love it. I really do. This is how I want to read it. I want this whole entire book this way. So far, so good. Let's see how good the recap is. In this chapter, Enoch shares his vision, the blessing of the righteous, and the judgment of the wicked that will occur in future generation. How is that going to be different than the preview? I'm not sure, because it's LDS scholarly insights. The concept of the elect and their role in the end times has been a subject of interest for LDS scholars, and the idea of, oh, come on, you can do more than that. Um, as we continue reading, remember the blessings for the elect and the judgment of the wicked as well as the role of the watchers. Interesting. I want these sections to be longer. Enoch prophesied. Um, can you? Oh, well, this is longer. Um, uh, chapter 2 and 3. Is it going to do it for us? Um, uh, is there just one verse here? Oh, it's got 3 verses, it looks like. Shifts his focus from the judgment of the wicked to the orderliness of creation. In this chapter, Enoch discusses the order of consistency of heavenly luminaries and the earth. All right. Oh, it's going immediately into chapter 3. I like that. Now, do we create an entire book like this? Would this be fun? Would we just have AutoGPT do this entire thing for us? Baby AGI do this whole thing for us? How much would that cost me to do with the GPT API that I have to pay for? It would it would be a lot. I would probably take the entire book, put it into a document, and then give the document, give my like the AutoGPT thing access to that document, and then have it pump it out chapter by chapter like this. And I would probably work on these sections. These are just ideas. Some of them, I don't know, it's okay, but I'm not sold on it. Um, man, I would love to read this. This is just great. Changing of the seasons, cycles of trees, moves from discussing heavenly luminaries to the changing seasons. So it's like talking about the switch from the last verse, the last chapter to this chapter. And it does it. You get an idea that's just one verse, but it's a lot of context around them. And concept of cycle life and trees can be seen as a metaphor for spiritual growth. We know I'm not sure about this section. Some of these insights are okay. Maybe it's just hard when it's one verse. How much have we fed it? Did we feed it? Chapter 4. Um, Continue with chapter 4. It should have the context of chapter 4. Let's just double check. Chapter 4 is very short. Again, they consider, and that heat is how it ends. Yeah, again, they consider in that heat. That's great. Let's do just all of chapter 5. That sounds good. Now do chapter 5. The natural world and consequences of transgression. He continues this exploration of the natural world and moves to discuss humanity's relationship with God. I love it. This is great. Explain that God's works are invariable and occur as appointed by him. Enoch describes how the seas and rivers complete their respective operations. He admonishes those who do not endure patiently or fulfill the commandments of the Lord, accusing them of maligning God's greatness with polluted words. I'm really digging this. At what point is Chat GPT 4 going to forget my context, my pattern? Or is it going to keep going through all 108 chapters just fine? Because it has all of the previous examples. See, I don't like when it falls short. And I don't want to do another, whatever. It's gonna do like, see, it's gonna do like a couple sentences. It's just like a couple sentences short, is my guess. Now, this could be an interesting one. Every once in a while, we get a couple interesting thoughts. Hugh Nibley, an LDS scholar, has explored the Book of Enoch in his writing. He suggests that Enoch's teachings emphasize the importance of obtaining and sharing knowledge as well as living righteously. The themes of obedience, wisdom, and the contrast between righteous and unrighteous can provide valuable insights. That just is kind of fluff. Wasn't that great? It's all right. Um, I would probably really think a little bit more about these and what pattern is going to be really helpful. I like this one. Keep in mind the consequences of disobedience and the rewards for the elect as we continue reading. I like this one. Do I like the recap in this chapter? Enoch discusses the natural world. Do we need two kind of previews? And no, I don't like the preview. I like the context. I like the recap, and I like important elements. I would do a little bit different exercise with the insights. I just want something a little like unique to share. Something a little more substantial. And this isn't really doing it for me, but these breakdowns are. So we could feed it chapter 6 and 7 together because we want to figure out if we can do It's just barely did number 5. I don't know. Let's see if it could do all in one. I'll do uh, chapters 6 and 7, and I will feed it to you. And it's gonna do 6. Where's my chapter thing? Dang it. Preview, context, and breakdowns. It didn't give me the 6. That's too bad. Angels. We learn about the angels' decision to marry human women, leading to the birth of giants, teaching them forbidden knowledge. It is an obscure book, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. This chapter follows the contrast between the righteous and unrighteous in the previous. Follows the contrast between the righteous and unrighteous. The angels become enamored with them, deciding to take them wives. The leader of the angels, Samyaza, expresses concern about consequences of their decision, but the angels commit to their plan. 200 angels descend upon Mount Arman and bind themselves by mutual oaths, led by Samyaza and the other chiefs. Chapter 6 describes the angels' decision. It combined this one and made it shorter this time around, is my feeling. I mean, this is just kind of fluff. And it's hard when you don't have the actual other resources, but GPT is not gonna, it's good at analyzing data more than it is finding data for you, especially obscure stuff. Quote, it's not good at quoting, I guess I should say. Oh, I mean, well, I guess it's giving us insights, Genesis 6, 1 through 4. And it did cut short on this one, so I should have just done chapter 7. Chapter title and change the format to not include a preview. And change the format to remove the insights section and instead a question and answer section where you provide short questions to lead the reader to questions. They help the reader to think about this chapter, then answer the questions yourself with unique insights. Let's see how it does it. Let's feed it chapter 7 again because we could do it. I mean, it's not going to take away from our prompt. I don't like that. I miss the context one. Where's the context one? Lame. I miss lame. Lame. We go back to the first one. Let's edit this one. We don't need this preview one. Chapter number and a title that will expand the content of the chapter. Okay. 2, 3, 4, 6, 7. Nope, we don't like this one anymore. How is this question and answer? I like it. I like it. Okay. What did I write for the question and answer prompt sort of thing? Let's see. Short question and answer. Boom. Take it, move it up top, and of the full chapter. Okay, that's good. On Enoch. It's been all right. I liked that section. Short question and answer section where you provide short questions that may help the reader to think about this chapter and important parts of this chapter. Then answer the questions yourself with unique insights. Let's save and submit. Okay. So we are going to jump in chapter 7. I guess we're going to have to do every chapter separately. Chapter 7. Here we go. I like it. It's got the title here, context from previous chapters. Oh, okay. Semjiaza. It seems like it's using the different words. These angels descend to, because I didn't give it the context of chapter 6. I wonder if that's why. I kind of want to do chapter 6 again then, because I feel like it's using a different different spelling of Semjaza because it didn't have the context, and in here it doesn't say Semjaza. So let's just replace this with chapter 6, the fall of the Watchers. Context. This is interesting. Samyaza. So it's got to be like, it's like, hey, I've got a different version, and I'm like, no. We're gonna go with the version I've got. I'm liking this. I hope it can fit all of one chapter. In this chapter, the fallen angels, captivated by beauty of human one, decide to take upon his wives, children with them. They swear follow through with their plan and descend upon Mount Armon. Remember the decision of the fallen angels to take human wives and their names of their chiefs, as they will be important later in the story. Why did the angels continue? Swearing and binding signify their. No, 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 no. Don't do 7. Stop it. I guess. Okay. Stop generating. I'm going to give you chapter 7. I don't want to leave this for you to figure out. Okay, here we go. Um, this is interesting. It's maintaining its format. I just worry about the chapters where it's going to be too long. I thought that there was going to be more questions here. What was the significance of the angels swearing and binding themselves together? The swearing and binding signified their commitment to their plan and ensured they would all share the consequences of their action. Captivated by the beauty of human women, desired to procreate with them. Okie dokie. Just 2 questions and insights. Okay, just 2 each time. We could tell it to do more, but what happens with the chapters that only have like 1 verse? I want this to be longer. After I get done with the whole thing, I could go back to chapters and go like, hey, can we expand? Like just drop in what I have and say, can you write more for recap and important points and question and insights? Okay, what is the deal with this chapter? This chapter describes the consequences of falling angels taking human wives, including the birth of giants who wreaked havoc on the earth and disrupted the natural order. Remember the birth of giants and their disruptive actions, as these events will have consequences throughout the story. This is fun. I like this way of doing things. I do actually think I really like the questions aspect. What are the consequences of the angels' decision to take human wives? The union between the angels and human women resulted in the birth of giants. Okay. Why did the giants turn against humans? Uh, Due to their insatiable hunger and the inability for human labor to sustain them. Oh, this is crazy. The giants began to harm beasts, reptiles, fish, eating their flesh and drinking their blood. Okay, the giants consumed all that human labor produced to the point that it was impossible to sustain them. As a result, the giants turned against humans, seeking to devour them. Oh boy! Sounds crazy. Let's keep going. Chapter 8. I'm actually kind of riveted. Uh, it's keeping the context. It's keeping the format, I should say. Follows the consequences of the fallen angels' decision to take human wives, birth of giants. Here the focus shifts to the knowledge of corruption brought by the angels to humanity. Azazel, one of the fallen angels, taught humans various crafts and arts, such as making weapons, working with metals and precious stones, and the use of makeup. The world was changed as a result of angels' teachings and piety, fornications, corruptions, humanity deviating from their original ways. Various angels taught humans forms of knowledge, including sorceries, astrology, astronomy. Um, the result of widespread destruction, corruption, humans cried out, and their voices reached heaven. In this chapter, the fallen angels teach humans various forms of knowledge. Yep, we got that. Remember the various forms of knowledge taught by the angels and the resulting corruption, as these events will have significant consequences in the following. I feel like it always says, these will have significant consequences in the following chapters. Just hold on. What's going to happen next? You'll never guess what happens next. What role did fallen angels play in the spread of corruptions on the earth? Well, angels taught humans various forms of knowledge. What did humanity react to the destruction and caused by the fallen angels and giants? Can we do a what if I did this? Rewrite this, but with larger, with more in depth for the recap and more questions. Let's see. So it should do the exact same thing, but it's going to do more recap and more questions. So we got to wait for it for a second. In the meantime, I'm going to do chapter 9, and then we'll see if it continues with the formula. Okay, we're almost done. Should just be verse 9. And then let's see. All right. In-depth recap. Okay. It says in-depth recap. In this chapter, fallen angels not only corrupt humanity by taking human wives and giving birth to giants, but they also share various forms of knowledge and arts. As Azazel taught the creation of weapons. I feel like I could just read this, so I like the in-depth recap. Okay. Oh, and it cut short. Darn it. Let's hit continue. That's, I think, going to be a problem with having longer stuff here. How many is it doing? 6? Oh gosh, that's a lot. Humans cried out for help. That's interesting. What does the sharing of knowledge suggest about the nature of knowledge itself? The sharing of knowledge by angels highlights the potential for knowledge to be used for good and evil purposes. It depends on how individuals to apply that knowledge. Why might the fallen angels have chosen to share this knowledge with humanity? To increase their influence and control over the humans, possibly to create further division and chaos in the world. Okay, I'm down. The introduction of advanced knowledge by the fallen angels disrupt the natural balance of the world as humans use the knowledge to create weapons, sorceries, alter their appearance. Their disruption led to increased corruption. Why might the outcry of humanity reaching for heaven signify for the future events in the story? The outcry of humanity reaching heaven suggests that divine intervention may be imminent, possibly leading to consequences for the fallen angels and the giants, as well as bringing about the changes in the course of human history. Dun dun dun. This is cool. I like this format with a few more questions. The in-depth recap. I like it. And this staying the same, fine with me. Let's go to we got chapter 9. We weren't doing chapter 9, we were doing chapter 8. Let's just dump in chapter 9, see what it does. Is it following the same? It's got context. I tell you what, this is going to be so much better for an AutoGPT or a baby AGI sort of system that can just follow this process, I think that would be much better. But we are proving that it's doing a pretty bang up job. This is going to be a long one. I should pause it. Or I should just be done because you've seen my whole entire take on this and leading all to this moment of a repeatable pattern. Even though regular Chat GPT is at some point gonna forget my original context, hopefully following a pattern of previous chapters, it can kind of infer the pattern that I'm looking for. But there are better ways about it, better software options, I suspect. In-depth recap. It's still doing it. Oh, I gotta hit continue. It didn't really get very far, did it? All right, let me read it. In this chapter, the archangels observe widespread suffering and corruption on Earth caused by the fallen angels. So there we got archangels, fallen angels, and giants. They hear the cries of humanity for justice and turn to the Most High for guidance. The archangels acknowledge the Lord's supreme power and acknowledge, specifically mention the roles of Azazel and Samayaza in spreading corruption on the earth. With the situation escalating, the archangels seek direction on how to address fallen angels' actions and restore balance. Did it stop again? Oh, this is annoying. Continue. Okay. Dang it, we got to our cap. So that's the end of today. I can't do more for another couple hours. Looks like 1 hour, but it's just gonna. We need all of our 25 to keep going with it, or I'm going to try to do this on a like a AutoGPT sort of thing. Um. Okay. Important points to remember: the archangels' awareness of humanity's suffering and their concern for justice. The Lord omniscience and omnipotence, as well as the mention of Azazel, some Yaza's roles. So this is what you got to remember for future chapters, right? The archangels seeking guidance from the Lord on how to address the situation. Um, I like it. I like it. All right, you joined me on a 100-minute journey. I hope you enjoyed it. Peace out.